Peace, family. Hope everybody been taking care of themselves. We back up in this thing. It's a phenomenal Friday. Yeah. Gonna go ahead and share this link right quick. The video we got today: smoking weed versus eating edibles. What happens to your body? Who y'all got? I feel like for me, I like smoking, but I feel like eating edibles give me more of it. I ain't gonna lie. So, I had sharing this link right quick. Bada boom, bada bing. And then we can go ahead and start the vid. See what they talking about. Alright, done share the link. Now let's see what the infographic show got to tell us. Salute to them.
Today we're diving into a hot topic in the world of cannabis: smoking weed versus eating it. We've all heard about those methods, but what exactly sets them apart? From how quickly they hit you to their effects on the body, there's a lot to unpack. As we delve deeper into the topic, it's important to understand that the way our bodies process cannabis can significantly alter our experiences with it. Smoking and eating weed aren't just different in terms of consumption methods, they engage with our biology in distinct ways. Whether you're a seasoned smoker or just cannabis curious, knowing these differences is key to making informed choices about your consumption. First, meet Sarah. Sarah's in her late 20s and works as a graphic designer in a bustling city. She's always been open-minded and curious about different experiences, including the world of cannabis. Sarah's exposure to weed has primarily been through social gatherings and occasional use, but her experiences have been limited to smoking, usually sparking a joint or hitting a bong. Lately, she's been hearing a lot about edibles from her friends and a few online forums, so she's intrigued. Sarah's journey into exploring the differences between smoking and eating cannabis begins with a visit to a local
So Sarah represents everybody who done been curious.
dispensary. When Sarah visits the local dispensary for the first time, she's both excited and a bit overwhelmed. The dispensary, with its wide variety of products and knowledgeable staff, offers a welcoming atmosphere for both newcomers and experienced users. Sarah takes her time to talk with the bud tenders who are eager to educate her about the different strains, THC and CBD content, and the effects of various products. They emphasize the importance of starting with low doses, especially with the edibles, and suggest trying a few different strains to understand which works best for her needs. Determining the quality of the dispensary is easy for Sarah. The clean, well-organized space, clear labeling, and transparency about product sourcing and testing give her confidence in her choices. She appreciates the dispensary's commitment to customer education and safety, which is evident in their detailed product descriptions and willingness to answer all of her questions. This visit not only provides Sarah with the products she's curious about, but also arms her with the knowledge and understanding necessary for a responsible and enjoyable cannabis experience. Sarah is still a bit apprehensive, but she's excited to learn more. Throughout our video, we'll check in on Sarah at key moments of her exploration. She'll be our guide through the real-world application of the facts we discuss. So let's tag along with Sarah as she embarks on this enlightening journey into the diverse world of cannabis consumption. Let's dive right into the speed and duration of the effects you experience. When you light up a joint and inhale, the sensation of calmness or bliss washes over you almost instantaneously, typically hitting within a few short minutes. The rapid onset of effects while smoking cannabis is a result of the efficient route THC takes from the lungs to the bloodstream. When you inhale cannabis smoke, the THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, the primary psychoactive compound in marijuana, is immediately absorbed by the alveoli in the lungs. The alveoli, tiny air sacs in the lungs, have a vast network of blood vessels or capillaries which are extremely efficient at absorbing oxygen, and in this case, THC, into the blood. Once the THC enters these capillaries, it quickly travels through the bloodstream and reaches the brain within seconds to minutes. The swift journey from the lungs to the brain is what leads to the almost immediate onset of effects when smoking cannabis. The blood-brain barrier, a protective layer around the brain's blood vessels, is easily penetrated by THC due to its lipid-soluble nature. Upon crossing the barrier, THC interacts with the endocannabinoid system in the brain, particularly binding to cannabinoid receptors, which results in the psychoactive effects commonly associated with cannabis use, such as euphoria, relaxation, altered sensory perception, and in some cases increased appetite. On the flip side, when you opt for edibles, patience is key. The journey from ingestion to feeling the effects is considerably longer, ranging from about 30 minutes to even a couple hours. This delay happens because the THC has to navigate through your entire digestive system, getting processed along the way before finally entering your bloodstream. But once the effects of edibles do start to surface, they come with a robust intensity and longevity that far surpasses smoking. Edibles are known for their sustained and powerful high, often lingering for several hours, providing a prolonged experience that can vary significantly in intensity and duration compared to smoking. In Sarah's first experiment, she decides to start with what she knows: smoking weed. She opts for a joint, as she's already familiar with the almost immediate effects that come with a few puffs. As she inhales, the THC travels directly to her bloodstream through her lungs, and within minutes she feels the familiar wave of relaxation and euphoria. This quick onset of effects is typical of smoking cannabis, as several studies have shown. It's a direct route to the bloodstream, ensuring the effects are felt rapidly. However, Sarah is curious about how this contrasts with edibles. A week later, she tries a THC-infused brownie. Remembering advice from the dispensary, she starts with a small dose. Unlike smoking, she doesn't feel the effects immediately. It takes about an hour and a half before she starts noticing a change, a delay caused by the THC needing to pass through her digestive system and then get metabolized in her liver. This slow onset is something many first-time edible users aren't prepared for, often leading to the common mistake of consuming too much too soon. What Sarah also notices is the difference in intensity. The high from edibles feels stronger and more body-oriented. This is due to the THC being converted to 11-hydroxy-THC in the liver, a metabolite that's more potent and has longer-lasting effects on the brain. This transformation.
See, that's what most people don't know, that shit is more potent. That's why motherfuckers be gone and be like, oh no, I ain't gonna take the edible. I ain't gonna be able to control that shit.
Is what often makes the experience of eating an edible more intense and prolonged compared to smoking. The duration of the high from edibles surprises Sarah. While the effects of smoking usually taper off after a couple hours, for her, the brownie keeps her in a prolonged state of relaxation and altered sensory perception for several hours. The difference in duration also impacts Sarah's day. After smoking, she's able to continue with her regular activities once the effects wear off. But with the edible, she finds herself needing to clear her schedule for the rest of the day, as the intensity and duration of the high are more than she anticipated. There are three main takeaways from Sarah's first edible experiment. One is to start low and go slow, the golden rule of edibles. Starting with a small dose, about 5 to 10 milligrams of THC, is key. Sarah now understands that the effects of edibles can sneak up on you, and overdoing it is easier than one might think. So she patiently waits for at least 2 hours to fully feel the effects before even considering taking more. This approach not only helps her avoid an uncomfortably intense high, but also allows her to understand how her body reacts to different dosages.
2 hours? That's kind of crazy. Niggas definitely not taking 2 hours.
Another key tip Sarah picks up is the importance of not consuming edibles on an empty stomach. Before indulging in her THC-infused treat, she makes sure to eat a balanced meal. She learns that having food in her stomach, especially healthy fats, can aid in the more gradual absorption of THC, leading to a smoother experience with fewer spikes in intensity. This approach helps mitigate the potential of an overly intense high and aids in stabilizing the effects over a longer period. Sarah finds that eating a meal before she takes her edible not only enhances her overall experience, but also helps her in maintaining her comfort and well-being throughout the high. Sarah also realizes the setting and the environment are key when trying edibles for the first time. She chooses a comfortable, familiar place where she feels safe and relaxed. She makes sure she doesn't have any pressing tasks or responsibilities for the next few hours, as she's seen firsthand that the effects of edibles can last much longer than smoking. Sarah also keeps herself hydrated and has some snacks on hand just in case she needs them. By creating a calm and controlled environment, she ensures her first experience with edibles is as pleasant and stress-free as possible. When it comes to managing the intensity and dosage of cannabis, the approach varies significantly between smoking and consuming edibles. For smoking, the control over dosage is much more straightforward. The immediate onset of the effects when THC is inhaled allows users to gauge how much they've consumed quite quickly. Typically, a standard dose for smoking might be a few puffs for a casual user, with each puff delivering a relatively known quantity of THC. This immediate feedback loop enables users to stop at the point where they feel comfortable, minimizing their risk of overconsumption. When defining a standard dose for smoking marijuana, the quantity of THC in each puff can vary based on the device or method used. So let's look at a few examples. First, let's examine the joint, or a marijuana cigarette. A common choice for consuming cannabis, a joint typically contains about 0.3 to 0.5 grams of cannabis. For a casual user, a standard dose might be 1 or 2 puffs from a joint. Considering that an average joint has a THC concentration of around 10 to 20%, each puff could deliver a variable amount of THC, but it's generally a small and manageable dose for most users. Next, let's look at a pipe. Pipes offer a bit more control over the dosage, as users can load in a smaller amount of marijuana, typically around 0.2 to 0.3 grams per bowl. Each inhalation from a pipe can be considered a dose, with the THC content depending on the strain and the quality of the marijuana. What about those much talked about bong rips? Bongs are known for their ability to cool and filter smoke, providing a smoother experience. A single hit from a bong can be quite potent, as the chamber allows for a larger volume of smoke to be inhaled. For the casual user, one hit from a bong could be enough, especially if the marijuana used has a high THC content. Next, there's the vaporizer, not to be confused with a vape or an e-cigarette. Vaporizing cannabis is seen as a more efficient method of inhalation. Vaporizers work in a similar way to an oven, heating up the cannabis to just below burning temperature, but enough for cannabinoids to be released. This process is much healthier than burning and inhaling cannabis, as it reduces the amount of harmful byproducts you inhale. The dosage from a vaporizer can be more precise, as many devices allow for temperature control and metered dosing. A few inhalations from a vaporizer can be enough to deliver a standard dose, with each puff delivering a consistent amount of THC. With all that said, it's also important to note that the individual tolerance, the strain of marijuana, and the THC concentration massively influences how much THC is delivered with each method. New users should always start with a small amount and wait to understand how they react before consuming more. Now let's talk about edibles. These products present a wildly different challenge in dosage control. The effects of edibles are not immediately felt, since the THC must first pass through the digestive system. This delay can often lead to inadvertent overconsumption, as users might consume more thinking the initial dose wasn't enough. Standard dosages for edibles usually starts at 5 to 10 milligrams of THC. This is considered a low dose. Remember, when THC is ingested, it undergoes a transformation in the liver, converting to 11-hydroxy-THC, a compound that's more potent and crosses the blood-brain barrier more efficiently than THC, so don't be tricked by edibles that seem to have a lower THC content. The potency and prolonged effects of edibles can be attributed to both the conversion process in the liver and the sustained release of the THC into the bloodstream during digestion. It's crucial for users, especially those new to edibles, to adhere to that "start low and go slow" mantra Sarah.
Alright, we back. We back like cook correct.
Learned from her pot brownie. Understanding those nuances in dosage and the body's metabolic response is key to a safe and enjoyable cannabis experience, whether you continue to smoke it or consume it in edible form. As Sarah continues her exploration, she becomes more aware of the challenges in controlling the dosage with edibles. She recalls how easy it was to take one hit at a time when smoking, gauging how she felt before deciding whether to continue. However, with edibles, Sarah quickly realizes it's a different ballgame. After her first experience with a longer-lasting high, she
Not 2 Chainz.
understands why dosage control with edibles is more complicated. The delayed onset of effects with edibles means it's easy to consume too much before the initial dose takes effect. In her next experiment with edibles, Sarah decides to be more cautious. She cuts a small piece of a cannabis-infused cookie, mindful of the recommended dosage. She waits for 2 hours, resisting the urge to consume.
And why she got a black angel? So, just because we talking about weed, niggas gotta be black?
More, and finds that the smaller dose is more manageable and
Alright, now infographics.
enjoyable. This practice of patience is crucial with edibles to avoid the discomfort of overconsumption. This approach leads Sarah to a better understanding of how different factors can influence the effects of edibles. She learns factors like her metabolic rate, the last time she ate, and even her body chemistry can affect how quickly and intensely she feels the effects of edibles. These variables make dosing with edibles less predictable compared to smoking, where the effects are more uniform and consistent. Now let's not forget about the health side of things. Smoking weed, like smoking anything, can irritate your lungs and throat. In the long term, this could lead to some respiratory issues, but edibles don't have this problem since there's no smoke involved. However, they do come with their own set of risks, like the chance of overconsumption we mentioned earlier. As Sarah delves deeper into her cannabis exploration, she becomes increasingly mindful of the health implications associated with different methods of consumption. Her experiences with smoking weed, while enjoyable, raise concerns about the potential respiratory issues. Sarah is aware that smoking in any form can lead to lung irritation and coughing. She recalls reading studies that suggest regular smoking of cannabis can lead to similar respiratory issues as tobacco, such as bronchitis or increased mucus production. This knowledge makes her more cautious about frequently choosing to smoke. Switching to edibles, Sarah notices an immediate difference in how her body reacts. Without the smoke entering her lungs, she doesn't experience the coughing or the throat irritation that sometimes comes after smoking. Edibles provide a smoke-free alternative, which from a respiratory standpoint feels like a healthier option for her. However, Sarah also learns that edibles come with their own set of health considerations. The delayed onset of effects and the potential of overconsumption can lead to an uncomfortable experience, often referred to as greening out, where a person who ate a bit too much of an edible might feel extreme anxiety, discomfort, or even nausea. Sarah's journey also leads her to consider the long-term cognitive effects of regular cannabis use. While research is ongoing on the subject, she understands that heavy and prolonged use, especially when started at a younger age, may be linked to certain cognitive impairments. This piece of information makes her more conscious of her consumption frequency and quantity, as she wants to ensure that she remains within a safe limit. In terms of digestive health, Sarah finds edibles do not negatively affect her. However, she learns that this might not be the case for everyone. For individuals with certain gastrointestinal conditions, ingesting cannabis can lead to different effects or discomforts. The way edibles are metabolized in the liver and the gastrointestinal system means they can interact differently with the body compared to inhaled cannabis. However, certain types of edibles are easier on the digestion system than others, depending largely on their composition and the individual's digestive health. Here are some factors to consider.
So basically, this shit is sounding like it's on a person-to-person basis, because we have an endocannabinoid system, so it's hard to say whose system ain't, assimilating this information better than others.
What types of ingredients does the edible contain? Turns out edibles made with fewer and simpler ingredients tend to be easier to digest. Products that avoid complex, heavy, or overly processed ingredients will generally be gentler on the stomach. High-fat foods can slow digestion and may cause discomfort, especially for those with certain digestive issues. Edibles with a lower fat content, like low-fat gummies or hard candies, can be easier on the digestive system compared to rich, buttery baked goods. For individuals with gluten sensitivity or celiac disease, gluten-free edibles are a must. Similarly, vegan edibles avoid dairy and animal products, which can be beneficial for those with lactose intolerance or certain dietary restrictions. Tinctures or oils are also excellent alternatives. These alternatives can be easier to digest, as they're often taken sublingually, meaning under your tongue, allowing for absorption directly into the bloodstream without going through the digestive process. Edibles that incorporate dietary fiber, often known simply as high-fiber edibles, can aid in digestion. Fiber helps regulate the digestive system, but it's important to consume fiber within your dietary limits, as too much can cause bloating or discomfort. Finally, for those sensitive to THC or its psychoactive effects, CBD-dominant edibles might offer a gentler alternative. CBD is known for its calming effects and is less likely to cause the digestive upset sometimes associated with high doses of THC. It's
I don't think I ever heard of a damn CBD edible.
important for individuals to consider their own digestive health and dietary restrictions when choosing edibles. Starting with a small dose to gauge how your body reacts is always a good practice. If you have specific digestive concerns or dietary restrictions, consulting with a healthcare provider or a knowledgeable dispensary staff member can help guide your choices. Throughout her exploration, Sarah gains a comprehensive understanding of the health impacts of both smoking and eating cannabis. She realizes the importance of balancing her enjoyment with her health and well-being. This journey through different methods of cannabis consumption teaches her to be more attentive to her body's responses and to make informed choices based on both pleasures and the possible health implications of her cannabis use. So let's say cannabis is working well for you, like it is Sarah, and you're starting to think about long-term use. Well, regular and heavy use of cannabis, no matter the method, might be linked to some cognitive changes, especially if you start young. However, the research is still ongoing, so be sure to keep doing your due diligence on looking into the health effects of cannabis. In the weeks following her cannabis experimentation, Sarah begins to notice subtle differences in her cognitive functions depending on the method of consumption she chooses. When she smokes weed, the effects on her cognition are immediate but fleeting. She experiences a short-lived alteration in perception, a slight haziness that lifts as the high wears off. This immediate but short-term impact on her cognition is in line with the typical effects of smoking cannabis, as the THC is rapidly absorbed and then quickly metabolized. However, with edibles, Sarah observes a different cognitive trajectory. The prolonged and more intense high that comes with edibles leads to longer periods where she feels her cognitive abilities are slightly altered. She experiences more pronounced changes in her sensory perception and time awareness. This extended cognitive impact aligns with research indicating that the effects of edibles can last much longer, sometimes resulting in prolonged alterations in perception and cognitive function due to the longer-lasting presence of THC in the system. On the digestive front, Sarah's experience with edibles is relatively smooth, but she learns that this isn't the case for everyone. Remember, the process of digestion and liver metabolism of THC can vary significantly among individuals, affecting how one's body reacts to edibles. This variability is a crucial consideration for those exploring edibles, especially for the first time. Sarah also becomes aware of the potential for long-term cognitive effects with regular and heavy cannabis use. While the research is ongoing, studies suggest that persistent heavy use might be linked to long-term cognitive changes. This knowledge makes Sarah more mindful of her consumption habits, as she wants to ensure her use remains within safe and moderate limits to avoid any potential long-term cognitive risks. Throughout her journey, Sarah's understanding of the cognitive and digestive effects of smoking and eating weed deepens. She learns to respect the power of cannabis and the importance of being attentive to her body's responses. Her experiences with both methods of consumption highlight the need for responsible use and an awareness of the varying effects cannabis can have on different aspects of her mental and physical health. The contrast between smoking and eating cannabis is indeed stark, almost like comparing night and day, with each method offering a distinctively different experience. While smoking cannabis offers a more controlled, social, and cerebral high, edibles can transport you on a longer, more intense, and often introspective journey. This fundamental difference in experience is crucial for users to understand, as it can help inform not only the choice of consumption method, but also the setting and context in which cannabis is used. Whether opting for the immediate effects of smoking or the delayed but profound effects of edibles, understanding and respecting these differences ensures a safer, more enjoyable cannabis experience. As she continues to navigate her way through the experiences of smoking and eating cannabis, Sarah begins to appreciate the unique characteristics each method offers. When smoking, Sarah finds the experience to be more sociable and communal, especially when she's with friends. The act of passing around a joint and sharing the moment adds a social dimension to the experience, which she enjoys. The effects of smoking are more predictable for her, and she feels more in control, able to stop when she feels like she's reached her desired state. Conversely, Sarah's experience with edibles is markedly different. It's more of a solitary journey, introspective, and tends to be deeply personal. She finds the longer-lasting, more intense effects of edibles lend themselves to a reflective experience, often leading her to deeper thoughts or creative bursts. This is something many users report, a sense of profound introspection or heightened creativity when consuming edibles, likely due to the stronger and more prolonged psychoactive effects. Sarah also notices the difference in the physical sensations between the two methods. Smoking gives her an immediate head high, a lightness that feels centered around her mind and eyes. In contrast, edibles provide a more body-focused high, a deep sense of physical relaxation that seems to emanate from her core and spread outward. Through her exploration, Sarah gains a newfound respect for the diverse experiences that cannabis in its various forms can offer. She learns to choose her method of consumption based on the kind of experience she seeks, whether it's the social, controlled high of smoking or the introspective, prolonged journey of edibles. Her journey underscores the importance of understanding not just the physical and cognitive effects, but also the qualitative differences in the cannabis experience. Through Sarah's story, we've seen the importance of education and personal responsibility in cannabis use. Remember, everyone is different when it comes to weed, It's about finding the right balance and method that suits your individual needs and preferences, all while being mindful of the potential health implications and cognitive effects. For a more in-depth dive into the smoking side of things, check out what happens to your body when smoking weed, or watch this video instead.
Now, if you're new to the channel, I would really appreciate if you like, comment, and subscribe. And for all y'all that's been here, you see we already watched the what happens to your body when you're smoking weed. Now, for me, I'ma definitely have to go with the edibles if I had a choice, cause yeah, like what are we talking about? I mean, me personally, I feel like smoking just don't get me as high as the edibles do. As we just heard, when you eat them, that shit get a little bit more potent. You feel me? But that was the video. Stay tapping in. Stay loving yourself. Peace.